is there a comic book cinematic universe that you are not in right now? I look at your IMDb and I'm like, David, what has happened? It's so cool.
There is, and I would. There's, I'll sleep when I'm dead, and there's no satisfaction. No, I'm a kid who grew up spending all of my spending all of my lawn mowing money at the comic book shop I grew up going to in Kansas City, and I pinch myself. I don't pinch myself actually, because you know what? I don't want to wake up. Fuck that. I don't want to wake up if this is all a dream. It is too good of a dream. It's one of those that it's like, don't you dare wake me up. If my alarm goes off, I'm going to be so pissed. So no, I'm so lucky. And I will say, like, being a part of like one of the cool cinematic worlds that Dark Horse has created would be really rad. But I do have a comic book that I've written and is being published by Dark Horse. So I feel like I'm kind of still in that world too.
You're working your way into that.
Yeah.
I had sort of initially written down like, oh, I wonder what David's, relationship with comic books was growing up. And then I read some stuff beforehand. I was like, oh, it was a very big relationship. It was a very loving relationship. But even you were like, I don't know who Polka Dot Man is. So if you can walk me through James's pitch to you, because I loved everything I read about that, but I want to hear it right from you.
Okay, so imagine I am in Glasgow, Scotland, promoting a film that I wrote called All Creatures Here Below at the Glasgow Film Festival. I have just gotten the news, maybe a week previous, 2 weeks previous, I don't know, but very recently, that Denis has invited me to be a part of his film Dune. My head is spinning. I'm trying to figure out my life. I don't understand what's happening. I get a message from James Gunn, the James Gunn, that says, I want you, all caps, to be in the Suicide Squad. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And to me, because I was in Glasgow, it was like already midnight, maybe 1 a.m. So then we got on the phone and he was so excited talking about this film. And I'm sitting here thinking, who am I going to be? Because I'm very familiar with so much of the DC canon and I know the DC villain so well. And he's like, I want you to be Abner Krill, ... Polka Dot Man, ... And I'm like, I don't know. I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, James, I'm so sorry. I don't know anything. And he's like, don't worry. I want you to read the script. I'm going to send it to you and let me know, how you feel. So he sends me the script and I read it that night. I was up till 5 a.m. I was jumping up and down. I was crying. I was yelling. I was so moved by what I read. And I was so just moved by the thought that he would imagine me getting to bring to life a character that beautifully created. Like that, it's still hard for me to process that. That's crazy that James, whose vision to me is otherworldly, would think Dave Dastmalchian, a character, and should play a character in one of my films, a story that is so special. So yeah.
I mean,
Crazy.
Abner he's so heartbreaking. I mean, I think that's what James really brings to all of his films, but especially this one. Like, these characters are fun and crazy, but then just like get you. And when you learn more about Abner, I mean, you get that first joke about, oh, I imagined it was my mom, and you're like, haha. And then you get more information about it. It's just like, oh God, this hurts so much. It's such a human story inside this crazy world. And I feel like I keep seeing that with your characters. Even when you're in a crazy spectacle movie, you're always playing people who are so human. And I'm sure that that's why James wanted you for the role. Did you guys talk about that? Am I right? Am I wrong?
Thank you. I know that James told me that when he was writing the character, he just saw me in his place. And there were certain lines, like when I say, I hope so, when Bloodsport says we're all going to die, that James said, I just always saw you delivering that line. Now, we will have to ask him why that is. I don't know, other than he just says he saw me in that place in his mind. But as you know, the way our film begins and the way the story kicks off, Abner is probably maybe one of the only people more willing to go on this journey, because it is called the Suicide Squad, and he does believe he will probably die. And he is ready to die at this point. His humiliation, shame, anguish over being who he is and the reasons for why he is who he is have led him to a place where he doesn't want to wake up tomorrow. I know that feeling all too well, I'm a survivor of suicide attempts, and I'm someone who's been working on my mental wellness actively for the better part of 2 decades now. I don't believe that all of humanity knows what suicidal ideation is or extremely morbid depression is, but I do believe that all of humanity and every single person who's going to go see this movie and everybody who's going to read this interview knows what it's like to feel depressed, to feel ashamed, to feel worthless. And I think that it would have been very easy for James to just make this ridiculous character the butt of the jokes and his worthlessness something to be mocked. But fortunately, it's James Gunn who doesn't just craft one-dimensional characters. He's going to go as deep as he possibly can. And he did that with Abner. And for me, my survival and why I'm able to sit here today and talk to you and why I'm able to have the life that I do have is because I didn't shelve or hide or bury the darkness that lives within me. I faced it and I've learned to live with it and embrace it. And I think Abner does that as well, even if it's polka dots.
Well, you've been able to do that both in your acting and in your writing. And I'm always so intrigued to see people who are, very funnily, like you and Karen Gillan, you do the same thing. You're in these giant movies, but then you still make these wonderful, smaller indie films. But I wonder about spending so much time on both different kinds of sets. When you're on a James Gunn film, how does that recalibrate what you think might be possible on the smaller films and vice versa?
Thank you for recognizing that. And I'll say first, Karen's a huge inspiration for me in that reality. And I've learned a lot from her because she and I both recognized early on that the gift we've been given to be a part of big, giant Marvel Cinematic Universe films not only can provide us with so many of the wonderful things that come with being a part of a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, but as filmmakers and storytellers, to sit on set every day and observe and learn from the way that people achieve the things that they do who are working at the top of their game. Nobody is a prop master for Marvel. No one is a cinematographer for Marvel. No one is a gaffer or electrician for Marvel who isn't a master of their game. And to sit and watch and learn from them, and then to turn around and go back and do and tell the kinds of stories that we love to tell as well, which in the world of independent film, fortunately, are stories you could tell where you can pose questions that don't beg an answer. I think with commercial storytelling, studio filmmaking, you're going to pose a question and you're going to answer it. And there's a satisfying kind of resolution that audiences and studios really want from that experience. When you go make an independent film and you're crafting something that you don't know if a dozen or 2 dozen or maybe 1,000 people are going to ultimately see, but you do it because you need to tell the story, you're going to pose the question that you don't know the answer to. And maybe you'll get closer to the answer by the end of filming and production and even editing, but you may not, and that's okay. As long as you get the audience asking the same question, that's, I think, success to me. Let's say going to make All Creatures Here Below, I was able to then call Russell Bobbitt from Marvel, the prop master, a guy who helped create Captain America's shield and so many other iconic pieces of props, and go, I need your help. I don't know how to have a baby on set for 8 hours when I can only have a live baby for an hour. How do you do like prop babies? How do you do prop, car seats and make it look risky and dangerous without actually endangering a child? And holy crap, I'm able to ask the best. The two hands feed one another so beautifully if you can allow them to. And I've been really lucky. Talking
to you and reading other interviews, you are someone who has so much admiration and interest for your directors. So I wonder, when you're attracted to a project, is it mainly the project or is it the director? Like hearing you talk about James, hearing you talk about Denis, like there's obviously so much love and affection there. Or is it like a total package thing?
It's both for certain, but I will say that the importance of directors to me is I've only grown to understand, and the deepening of that appreciation has only grown, and by grown I mean exponentially grown, over the years that I've been doing this. I've been so fortunate that I've been invited by directors who are visionaries and incredibly talented people to tell their stories on such a large and incredible scale as James Gunn, Denis Villeneuve, Michel Franco, you name it. So many incredible people, Sam Taylor Johnson and Peyton Reed, for goodness sake. But I'll say that the projects themselves, the vision, the the stories that I get to be a part of telling. A lot of times as an actor, that's the luck of the draw. I wish I could say that I had been, sure, I've been focused on it and energetically and psychically and in my dream space, thinking about and dreaming about getting to be a part of telling stories of this nature because I love them so much. And I've spent so much time invested in genre and sci-fi and the world of comic books. And I believe that they are a space in which deeper questions can be explored. That being said, I'm not powerful enough and I don't know enough people to be able to be like, that's what I'm going to do. I think I just kept throwing my energy that way, just like I threw my energy at the fact that there was nothing I wanted more when I moved to Hollywood than to work with the Muppets, be a James Bond villain, and work with David Lynch. Now, the Muppets and James Bond, I don't know if will ever happen, but David Lynch, I believe that was manifest because I focused so much energy and just thought about it so much. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And the last thing I want to say about that too is getting to be on these films with someone like James or someone like Denis, who are both incredibly different filmmakers who make incredibly different films, but are both masters of what's happening right now in contemporary cinema. And both have the visions and imaginations of artists that, for all intents and purposes, super heroic. Getting to be a part of that experience is so fulfilling to me as a human and as an actor. But one of the reasons that their stories succeed as strongly as they do and mean so much to audiences in the way that they do is because of the people that both James and Denis are. And that's something that they absolutely have in common, which is this deep, deep well of humanity, love, kindness, and respect. When I'm on their sets, I'm willing to give them everything I possibly can because I trust them that much. And that's because of who they are and the way that they treat those around them. And that's super important. And I'm so lucky I get to work with people like that because I've heard stories and I know that's not always the case.
Yes, for sure. My news editor would murder me if I didn't.
No.
Yes. Zach would kill me if I didn't say, hey, have you seen Dune? What can you say about Dune? Because the only thing that IndieWire readers are more crazy about, and there's nothing but Dune right now. It's Can and Dune. So anything that you can say would be.
I had the great pleasure of going to Warner Brothers and watching Dune with my wife. And it is, in my opinion, a piece of historic cinema. I do believe that I've never seen anything like it before. I don't think I will ever see anything like it again. I think that it is an achievement that is going to leave audiences dumbfounded. And it's so incredible. It's so amazing. And I cannot wait for people to see it.
Oh my God. I already couldn't wait, but now it's a whole new level. David, this was such a pleasure. And it was very much a long time coming. We should have done this a long time ago. We'll do it again for Dune and we can do it for longer. But
yes,
your career
I would love that. Thank you. No, seriously. I mean, it's the only thing that is on my subscription feed that pops up every morning for my news. So, well, that and Fangoria and Rue Morgue and all my other stuff, but
we love them too. We love Fangoria. David, thank you. I will let you go.
Thank you, Kate. Tell Zach hi. Thank you.
I will. I love that. Bye.